Welcome back, y'all, to Sawyer Farm. So today we're going to be talking about why we have our goats and kind of how we got them. But first, I got to fix their hay feeder because they kind of broke it. As you can tell, it kind of came off its stand. So before we get into that on why we have the goats and everything, I'm just going to fix this real quick so we can put some hay in there, and then we'll get into the conversation. Alright, so we got this hay feeder fix. It was a real simple fix. Just what happened was the screws were short and they just kind of got warped out and it just kind of fell over. And I just put, as you could see, just some longer screws in the sides. But this hay feeder, we just kind of modified it a little bit. As you can see here, we just put it's some old field fence just on the inside, just to kind of make the holes a little smaller, because we know goats like to just grab a lot and then they pull out, and when you have kind of bigger holes, they can pull out a lot more and they're not going to be eating, you know, that much. You can see kind of on the ground, you're always going to have some waste.
Goats waste a lot of hay, so that's why we kind of made these modifications to the hay feeder. They waste a lot of hay. Anyone that has goats knows that.
And this kind of just, it helps a little bit just to prevent a little bit less loss. But I mean, if you got animals, you're gonna have some loss of hay. It just comes with the territory. But we'll go over, we'll try to find the goats, and we'll just talk about how we got them and why we have them.
Here you go.
All right, so as you can see, we're in the goat pasture right now, kind of in the wooded area. And I don't know if you can see the goats back there. Kind of got them up here with some grain. But let's just talk about how we came about goats first. And so when we first moved here, we had chickens, and then my parents had some boar cross goats, and they were kind of wanting to get rid of them, but they just couldn't, have the time right now. And so we had our pasture here, and before here there was goats, and so we just said, hey, why don't you put them on our pasture, let them eat down the grass, and whenever y'all sell them, you sell them. They said, okay. So we had them over here. We had them for a while, a few months, and my mom found a buyer, and she's like, hey, I got a guy that wants to buy them. And if y'all know goats, Alex was like, I really like these goats.
Yeah, I kind of got attached to them, so
she got attached to them. She said, hey, I like these goats. I don't want them to go. And I think there was about 8 of them or so. And so I was like, well, so I talked to my mom, and she was like, if you want them, we'll work out a payment plan, and y'all can have them. So she called that guy up and told him that we were going to take them. And so we had those boar goats. We had some, kids and everything, and it was real good. And that's kind of how we got into goats.
yeah.
I had goats when I was a kid. I don't remember, taking care of them a whole lot, just the trade. But so I've kind of been around goats. Well, we had the boar goats for about a year or two.
Yeah.
Probably like 2 kidding seasons. And well, then because we didn't know a whole lot about them, so we're like, well, we need to do some research, how to take care of them. And that's when we came across Daniel Arms at Arms Family Homestead. We started seeing his maintenance videos.
Yeah.
And that's honestly what got us into YouTube. Watching YouTube was actually Arms Family Homestead with his goat videos. And we started watching him, and he rant and raved about these Kiko goats, and he started talking about them, and we started doing research, and we were having troubles with our boar goats with hoofs and
parasites. And even Daniel says in his videos that he used to have the boar goats also, and he tells about the same reason why we switched from boar to Kikos. So
yeah, and so we were watching him and did the research on the Kikos, and we're like, you know what? I think this is probably a breed that we probably really want to look into and probably get, because yeah, we were just having trouble with the boar crosses, and so we started looking into where to get them, and we found some. A guy was over in Arkansas, and that's where we bought these ones at. And we're just we're really liking the Kiko breed.
Yeah.
They're very parasite resistant. You don't really have to trim their hooves. You need to watch them depending on what your percentage is and what they're crossed with. They're really good for not having to trim the hooves and your parasites.
Yeah, and like one thing, you guys know that we live kind of on the side of a hill here. It's probably evident in the video. There's a ton of rocks, and they stay in this pasture right here. And so, the rocks on their hooves does them really well. So if they're constantly just in like pasture land, you might have to trim their hooves more often. But these goats, they just hang out up here in the woods, and they're always, stepping on these rocks, jumping on the rocks, and that helps keep their hooves, trimmed down. So I think since we've had these Kikos, we haven't had to trim their hooves at all. And
right.
So, but when we had the boars, we were trimming their hooves,
Yeah, even in this rocky area, it does help. When you have a rocky area, it does help their hooves a lot. But yeah, if they're not Kikos or a breed that has those hooves, and you're in the pastures, you probably have to do a little bit more maintenance. But just we really like our setup here. It's a lot of woods and rocks, and there's a little bit of pasture. So I just think it's the best of both worlds. The other reason, like why we actually have them, like why do we raise them? Mm-hmm. We do raise them, to sell for profit here on the farm.
Yep.
We sell the babies. We're debating on keeping back some females, some does for this season, or do we want to maybe get a different bloodline? We're not sure yet right now on kind of what we're wanting to do. As you can tell, I mean they haven't kidded yet, so we're just kind of waiting for that. And but we also we eat them too. We haven't done a whole lot of that, but we do. I do want to keep back, maybe one or two of the bucklings and process them out later. But I kind of got to convince her.
I get attached too easily, and I tell myself not to. It's just one of those things. The baby goats are probably one of my favorites on the farm, so it's hard for me not to get attached to the little babies. But I do know in my mind that things are here for a reason, and all the animals we have, are for a purpose. So we'll possibly be keeping back one of the bucks, making them into a wether, and keeping them to process very soon. So you guys might be wondering, what's so special about the Kikos that, we got rid of our boars? And we kind of hinted around with it. The Kikos, they come from a feral goat in New Zealand. So basically they are bred almost like as a set it and forget it goat, I guess if you want to call it that. They need very little maintenance to them, because if goats in the wild, their hooves get too long or they get parasites, they just die out. So it's kind of like survival of the fittest, and that was bred into the bloodline. That's why they're such a hardy goat and just parasite resistant. So that's kind of the main difference between the boar and the Kiko, and that's why we went with the Kikos. They're a lot less maintenance than the boars.
Yeah, and that's one thing when we had the boars, you were constantly having to watch them, and they weren't really good mothers. And the Kikos, we haven't necessarily experienced it because we haven't had a kidding season yet.
Which we will be very soon.
We will, hopefully.
Yeah.
But we have watched a bunch of videos, and it seems like they are just right on it with the mama in.
Yeah, and the kids, they just within. I've seen a lot of Daniel's videos, and Dutch just had some baby kids. Kevin over at Hidden Heights Farm, they're all having kids right now. And those Kiko babies, they just within 5 to 10 minutes of being born, they're already standing up, trying to nurse, because they have to be like that. In the wild, if they don't, get up real fast, there could be predators come and get them. So it's just bred into them to really get going fast, and the mothers are great with them.
Yeah, we just really like the goats, and like you may have seen some of our other videos before, but these particular goats we have behind us, a lot of people say when it rains, and before we've had the same experience. We got a little goat hut over there we made for them with a feed trough and everything, and we have a heat lamp and minerals in there. And for some reason, when we got these goats, I don't know what it is, but they do not go in there. No matter how cold, no matter how wet, they stay up in these woods. And like I said kind of before in the other videos, they're almost like deer.
Yeah.
And I know maybe we just have a weird type
maybe we have a weird bunch here.
A weird bunch here, because most of other Kikos and other goats, I mean they haul if they even hear rain coming. Yeah. And so, but we just really think it's pretty cool, and they like coming up here in these woods, and we just like watching them, and kind of what they're doing in the background. And but I mean that's pretty much some of the reasons why we went with the Kikos. They're just very less maintenance, and when you're on a farm and you got a bunch of chores to do and take care of a lot of animals, you want animals that can kind of take care of themselves and very minimal maintenance. It just helps out a lot where you don't have to constantly be babying something all the time.
Yeah, so those are just, a few of the main reasons why we have goats here. Alright, so that's what we're going to end today's video. We just wanted to show you guys about our goats and everything. I want to give this guy credit right here. This is my little brother. Believe it or not, he's like way taller than me. This is Brady, my little brother. He's been our videographer today, so he's been helping us out. You guys be sure and tell Brady thank you. But yeah, that's where we're going to end the video today. So
yeah, as always, guys, if you're not subscribed, we've been getting a lot of subscribers here lately, and it's awesome. Thank you for subscribing. But if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, please hit that button. If you like this video, hit the like button. There's a lot of buttons you got to hit. So if you got questions, leave them down in the comments, and we'll answer them to the best of our abilities. And then there's a bell. Hit that bell, and that'll notify you of new content that we put out, and y'all can be the first ones to watch it. But as always, take care and God bless.
God bless. What do you think about that?
I'm gonna be famous. I'm
video. Hey, I'm your hair, man. What's going on there? Is that the style?
It's natural.
Oh, it's natural?
Yep.
You look like Daniel Arms's donkey poodle.
I know who that is. But yeah, I'm in a video with famous people. I mean, I guess considered famous.
Yeah.
10.6 thousand subscribers, as Jacob would say. Subscribers.
Yeah.
Y'all hit that subscribe button,
Thanks
Jacob.
For your help today.
You're welcome.